Hello fellow gamers, I'm Christopher Chrisman of Retro Game Network, and coming up next, a look at last week's retro video game news on the RGN Files for the week ending Saturday, June 22nd, 2019. In the RGN Files this week, TerraOnion has announced a new method of playing Sega CD titles on the original 16-bit equipment thanks to their upcoming Mega SD cartridge. The product is similar in design of any other flash card that is currently on the market, which will allow you to upload Sega CD ISO files onto flash media and allow you to play a library of games on original hardware using a single cartridge. The main selling point of the Mega SD, however, comes to us in the form of it being FPGA powered. This indicates that the device uses actual hardware to emulate the devices as opposed to using software-based methods. This would thus provide an experience more accurate to the original optical disc media with no emulation audio-visual issues that would occur due to software limitations. Being dubbed as the world's first Sega CD FPGA optical disc emulator, the device can play both ISOs in both bin and Q formats alongside of traditional Genesis and Mega Drive ROM images. It is also compatible with ROM images for the Sega Master System and will also play Sega 32X based titles if you have access to original 32X peripherals. It's RAM-based for instant booting, eliminating the long load times that were originally associated with the original equipment. The Mega SD will also offer a navigational interface that includes screenshots, genre, year, and game description. There is also an in-game menu system implemented that will allow you for rapid reboot as well as game swapping. It will also provide a built-in cheat engine alongside of save state support and will also emulate all console mappers. For those interested in playing Sega Master System titles, it will also be compatible with the FM audio core. Aside from being compatible with original Sega Genesis equipment, it has also been successfully tested with both the analog Mega SG console as well as the portable Sega Nomad. The upcoming device is currently available for pre-order directly from TerraOnion and sells for €232, equal to just under $260. The Mega SD is planned to be shipped out starting the first week of August of this year. In other Sega Genesis news, back in the 1990s, a game called Hardcore was in the works for the system, however was put on the chopping block due to the 16-bit era of gaming coming to a close. While it was recently published for modern platforms, over the weekend, independent publisher Strictly Limited Games brought the title to gamers in physical cartridge format to the Sega Genesis console for the very first time, making it available on one of the systems that the game was originally intended for. Swedish video game developer Digital Illusions began development on the game that would be known as Hardcore in the mid-1990s, and it was originally planned to be not only released for the Genesis and Mega Drive, but for the Sega CD and Commodore Amiga series of computers as well. Hardcore was developed as a classic run-and-gun style 2D shooter where the player would collect weapon power-ups while moving throughout various levels. It appeared that it was going to be a hit for the 16-bit console and computer, as early reviews of the game were very positive. The game was about 99% completed when, without warning, the game was put on hold and then eventually cancelled. This was due to the newer generation of consoles that were coming out, as the 16-bit era was coming to an end. Last August, Strictly Limited Games announced plans to finish and release the game, as the developer has ties with the original game. Its co-founder, as well as other staff, originally worked at Digital Illusions back in the day. However, due to licensing issues, the game has been retitled to UltraCore. The game was finally completed by means of using an original-era Sega Genesis development kit as a way of finishing the production. The physical cartridges of the Sega editions of the game are currently being offered on both Genesis and Mega Drive editions for complete worldwide compatibility. Your order includes the cartridge itself, alongside of a box and full-color manual. The games are limited in production to only 999 copies each for both the Genesis and Mega Drive. The cost of the game is just under €45, approximately $51, and is slated to begin shipping this coming August. And finally this week, a piece of straggling news from the recent E3 convention. Square Enix had announced at E3 that they would like to enter the video game streaming marketplace as a way of offering their extensive and historical library all in one place. The president and CEO of Square Enix had stated that he is aware that there is a demand for older games to be made available once again, and had mentioned that there are plans to bring such games back into the hands of gamers. There is even a special project currently in place dedicated to bringing game players, quote, classic titles that you may have played on NES, end quote. However, there is one small problem. It appears that some of the original source code has been misplaced. He said in a statement, quote, "I'm embarrassed to admit it, but in some cases we don't know where the code is anymore. It's very hard to find them sometimes, because back in the day, you just made them and put them out there, and you were done. You didn't think of how you were going to sell them down the road. Sometimes customers ask, why haven't you released that yet? And the truth of the matter is, it's because we don't know where it is gone," end quote. Yosuke Matsuda did not state exactly which games have gone missing, but did share that the game's source code has the potential to, quote, travel. In one example, a developer that was working on a project had left Square Enix and had taken his work literally home. The code was later found on his personal PC and was thus able to be retrieved. Thus, this does not mean that the misplaced source code is lost forever, as there is still the possibility of discovery and retrieval. Over the years, many pieces of entertainment media, particularly television programs from the Golden Age, have been thought destroyed, only to be refound decades later. Maybe someday we will be able to report that the lost Square Enix codes have been found, but that's a story hopefully for later on in the future. That's it for this week's edition of the RGN Files. For those listening on BGM on FM, please stay tuned. There'll be more music coming up shortly. For complete details of any of this week's stories, visit RetroGameNetwork.com. And don't forget to check us out on our social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Retro Game Network, and on Twitter and Twitch at RetroGameNet. For the RGN Files, I'm Christopher Chrisman. This week's news stories provided by the following: Indie Retro News, Koteko, Nintendo Everything, Strictly Limited Games, Terra Onion.